and Cybersecurity LinkedIn Live event. My name is Alex Mavro, and I'm joined by my co-host Alex Vlad. Today, we are excited to welcome Robert Gheorghiu, Senior Security Architect at EU-LISA, the European Union agency responsible for the operational management of some of Europe's most critical large-scale IT systems supporting border security, migration, justice, and law enforcement. Robert brings more than 15 years of hands-on experience designing, implementing, and securing complex IT environments with deep expertise in critical infrastructure protection, security architecture, cyber risk management, and enterprise architecture. His background includes credentials in IT and cybersecurity risk management, and he also serves as a trainer and lecturer in cybersecurity and risk topics. What makes Robert especially relevant for today's conversation is the environment he helps secure. This is also not just a theoretical conversation. In 2024, EU-LISA publicly shared lessons on security incidents and the implementation of Zero Trust, including how its architecture helps strengthen resilience and response during a distributed denial of service attacks. Today, we are going beyond the buzzword and into the hard part, what Zero Trust actually looks like when you have to build and operate it at scale. Robert, welcome to the APT and cybersecurity.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks, Alex.
Alex Vlad and Alex Mavro.
Yes, Alex two times. So thank you very much for the opportunity to join you. It's a pleasure to be here. And what can I say? We can get the ball rolling. We can start. I actually have a small thing related to the subject of this webinar to add in the beginning. And basically, it's about what Zero Trust actually is, at least from my point of view. Zero Trust is not actually a product from my point of view. It's not a slogan. It's basically a security operating model, which we strive to achieve. It's not a very clear point in our journey. It's actually a big journey. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and we have to be very patient once we go on this path.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for us, it's Zero Trust. It's multiple layers of security for companies or for enterprises.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Okay, I will start to our agenda, which is context and framing. And over here, for those who may not know EU-LISA well, can you give us a sense of the systems and mission environment you are helping secure, and why that creates such a different challenge from a typical enterprise security program?
Well, basically, it starts like this. It's in a large organization in general, the challenge is rarely about securing a clean, modern, centralized IT estate. You don't have the luxury to start from scratch.
Okay.
It's usually about securing a very heterogeneous environment. You have legacy systems, you have cloud services, you have operational technology, third-party integrations, privileged users, remote accesses, name it, shared services, business critical applications, and so on and so forth.
All the good stuff.
Yeah. And especially when you're looking to mission critical systems, you cannot tolerate disruptions. You cannot afford for your systems to go down. This creates basically a fundamentally different problem from the textbooks. You don't have a guide in this direction. You don't have a very clear text-like or a checklist that you have to follow. In a large organization, you're dealing usually with multiple trust zones. You have multiple identity sources,
yes.
Varying technology in maturity level, and of course, different tolerances at every level in that organization. So some parts of that environment may be state of the art, very modern. cloud native even. Others decades old. So you have to be very, very, very careful on how you tackle the approach. The result is that the architecture, the security architecture itself, becomes less about the design of an ideal end state. It's more about reducing the trust surface, reducing the trust intelligently across a living system. So basically, you have to enforce that. You have to be able to balance security with resilience, with regulatory obligations, interoperability, vendor constraints. So there are a lot of things that you have to take in account to be able to ensure actually the continuity of everything. The whole thing has to stand. So this is actually the moment when zero trust becomes very relevant in this type of organizations. It gives you a way to impose security principles across a very inconsistent environment. It's not flat actually.
Yeah.
It's not something that there is a term that I like to use. It's flat trust, which sometimes it's very, very dangerous. The idea is that you cannot trust by default. You have to go beyond this old way of imposing things. You have to move your borders. You have to be able to establish that trust based on very, very strict criteria. So at least this, again, complexity itself, it's driven by the security risk. So the larger the risk for your organization is, of course, the higher the security posture, the more mature your security posture has to be.
Okay, thank you. When people hear zero trust, they often hear a slogan or a vendor category, as you have mentioned, like a marketing word. In your view, what does zero trust actually mean when you have to make real architectural decisions in a mission-critical environment?
Well, it's a complex definition, to be honest. In real architecture, zero trust doesn't resemble anything in the slogans. It's not about a vendor. It's not about the software. It's not about an actual capability of your organization.
Yeah.
It's about the whole thing. You have to be able to see the very, very helicopter from a very high height, if I may say that, your organization. You have to be able to understand that zero trust doesn't mean that no user, device, or application, or workload, or network flow is trusted by default simply because it's there. It's not. You shouldn't trust it. Even though you have it in your organization, you know that user, you know that device, you have all the measures in place, you shouldn't trust it. You should assume that particular piece of your environment has an impact on your whole posture. Every access decision should be explicit, contextual, and of course, continuously reassessed. It doesn't matter if you're saying, yes, now I have a zero trust posture. Well, that's not what that zero trust means.
Yeah.
Zero trust means that you have to do it all over again, every time, each time. It's architecture usually leads to practical shifts. But first, identity becomes, let's say, a primary control plane. So you're not relying always. You have to understand. You have to know the identity of that user, device, application, and so on and so forth. Access is always based on who is requesting it, what they are using, what they are trying to reach, and under what conditions. Basically, these three factors should be understand very well before you actually give access to anything in your infrastructure. Second, access has to be as granular as possible. Um, in you know
Control.
exactly
Control. Obsession for control for the zero
exactly
trust.
you
Yeah.
have to have
And
a
audit.
very granular control plane. So instead of broad network accesses, you should move to specific path to specific applications, services, APIs. You don't allow a device to access all your network infrastructure. No, you have to be able to decide very granular where that particular device has to land, what resources that particular user has to access, and of course, one of the most important things, for what reason. Third, trust. It's dynamic. It becomes dynamic. It's not something that stays the same for periods of time. A session that has, for example, is acceptable for 5 minutes may no longer be acceptable if the device posture is changed.
Yeah,
It's just an example. You have a call that it's longer than half an hour. Well, something can happen there. Um,
for sure.
Fourth, let's say it's not, let's say, a list or a success for terms that actually can be fixed. They can move around in the order, but containment matters as much as prevention. Zero trust is not only about giving those rights. Zero trust actually assumes that your controls fail. So your architecture, your zero trust architecture, must limit lateral movement. It has to have embedded measures that will not allow an attacker. Again, we're assuming that they are already there. The breach had already happened. Wouldn't be able to lateral move. You're reducing basically your blast area. The whole concept has to be supported by rapid response and rapid isolation.
Do you think there are tools over there to use for the zero trust? Or, I mean,
Well,
like Microsoft or any other tools?
yes, there are multiple tools. I don't like to talk about tools because each organization has its own particularities, its own, let's say, class of specific needs. So each organization has to be very careful when they are choosing their tools for that particular journey.
Okay.
But the concept as a whole should go in this direction. Assume you're bridged, try to have the capabilities that allow you to be able to very fast isolate a potential threat, be able to analyze that potential threat, and be able to react. And of course, don't trust. Create accesses for a particular reason and make them as granular as possible.
Yeah.
Um, what can I say? You can actually, if you're trying to translate architecture in, actually zero trust architecture in words, you shouldn't define them like, deploy MFA or by ZTNA. Well, it's not that simple. A tool or a piece of software is not actually taking your zero trust journey to the finish line. It's just a part that is supporting that journey. So the model should be based on some recurring questions, some things that you always have to have in your mind and always have to ask as an organization, as people that are looking at security and actually taking care of it. And the first one, and probably the most important one, is who is requesting the access?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
On what device or workload? To which resources? Under what security conditions? And last but not least, with what minimum necessary privileges for what the duration?
Yeah. Indeed.
These these things have to be always in the back of our mind during our journey. Um, this is how you're basically stopping the branding, the zero trust branding, and actually embarking on the journey. Uh, it's it's not a brand, so that's for sure.
Yeah.
Zero trust shouldn't be a brand. Shouldn't be considered a brand.
Okay. Thank you very much for the details over here. So. You mentioned about ZTNA, which for the
Yeah,
people who doesn't know means Zero Trust Network Access. Very well. We have seen this on the Zscaler as a tool, but
yeah,
again, we don't have to rely on those specific tools.
no,
Every company should implement any kind of other tools that are there. And of course, maybe those tools are not the best for them. And you have mentioned as well a Zero Trust journey. What is primarily threat driven, resilience driven, regulatory, operational, or a combination of all of those?
well, in most organizations, it's not just one driver. Um, it is usually a combination of threats,
Yeah,
resilience, operational complexity, and of course, compliance pressure. Um, the threat driver is clear. It shouldn't be any question around this. Attackers increasingly exploit valid credentials with privileged models, unmanaged devices, supply chains, and east-west movement after initial
yeah,
compromise. These are things that are happening in any, let's say, threat modeling scenario. Um, Traditionally, we assume a perimeter, uh, but in zero trust, we should assume that that perimeter was already breached. So, classic perimeter way of doing things usually doesn't hold up very well against these techniques. Um, the resilience driver, let's say, it's equally important. Large organizations need to actually keep operating even during incidents. They have to be there because their systems are critical. So zero trust supports resilience by limiting blast radiuses. It's making access pathways more explicit. So that means that they are very clear. You know from where to where you're going. And of course, it's improving the organizational ability to actually isolate affected components or systems that seems that they are compromised. Basically, they should be able to do this without actually shutting down the production. Uh, the so mu- the fun must go on. You have to keep on
Obviously.
producing. Um,
Is the
so
business
this
owner's pressure?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to be able to keep things going there. Um, Regulatory driver also matters a lot. It's especially
Especially in
in
the EU area.
not
yeah,
only, not only, not
It's-
only. No, 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 no. I tend to disagree with you. It's not only about you institutions or let's say mission critical state institutions. Look at the financial sector. Look at the I know reactive sectors like police or army. We are in a period that all this seems to matter more and more each day. Uh, Fuel distribution,
yeah,
critical system. Okay, in some situations you're not actually relying on your IT systems to protect those because the threat is a little bit from the outside of your IT world. But imagine that the same scenario can actually happen if an attacker comes on the IT path, not on the bomb path. Um, so yeah, it's those regularity expectations are not, let's say, always related with the direct strictness of the IT systems. It's around identity assurance. It's linked with access governance, with data protections, famous GDPR, logging, and of course it's incident responses.
Yeah.
Um, Many of these large organizations arrive at the zero trust because the regulations are increasing, and
Indeed.
the direction is clear, guys. You have to follow the path in your pace, but you have to go towards this path. You have to strive to achieve a posture that has zero trust in at its core. So to be honest, the answer is the most mature zero trust programs begin when actually leadership realizes that the old model is failing, um, and is not failing on one front. It's failing on multiple fronts at once.
Yeah.
It's security, auditability, resilience, and manageability. Um, it's it's like that, it's not just one point that drives this security zero trust journey, security zero trust journey.
Okay. Thank you very much for this detail.
Great.
I will pass to my special co-host, to Alex Vlad. Practice implementation scale is the next topic. Alex, please, you have the floor.
A fun
When you
part.
began when you began translating zero trust into something real, where did you first start, and how do you face the journey across legacy systems, integrated platforms, and always on operations?
Wow.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
yeah. This
And it's getting more complicated with each day.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, you're right. It's harder each day. The right starting point is, of course, never everywhere. So don't try
and
to achieve
and
it.
the best part it is that after you did the whole thing, you did the implementation, a new technology arises, and in order for the company to be compliant with the new standards, with the new updates, with the new
Yeah,
types of technologies,
you start
you
all
have
over
to
again.
migrate, start all over again, yeah, from
Yeah,
scratch. It's like nothing happened.
yeah, exactly. So again, I said it at the beginning. It's a never-ending journey. Although sometimes you seem that you're very close to the finish line. As you said, something changes. Regulatory measure, new technologies, new types of attacks, so on and so forth. So basically, it's you're starting the circle again. But yeah, the starting point from my point of view, it's actually where the combination of risk, visibility, and feasibility is stronger. So you have to know your yard to be able to say, okay, I'm embarking on zero trust and I'm striving towards it. I want to achieve it. In most large organizations, the first practical focus area usually are identity and authentication, privileged access, wise postures, which is again a very important topic. Um, I would go with remote and third-party access as well because it's
Yeah,
very linked
partners, yeah.
depending on your type of business. You could have a lot of people that are working for you or accessing services from your side and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
And visibility. And I'm not talking about the classic visibility. I have an idea of what is actually happening in my organization due to the fact that I get some logs. I'm talking about actual critical application flows to know exactly what's going on in those communications, to understand what those messages are made of. And that is because these areas usually, I'm referring to the whole list of, let's say, points of start, gives you a measurable quantity of risk reduction capability without actually requiring immediate redesign of the legacy applications. So it's usually a good point to start because you can have different you can leverage different technologies or different approaches not to actually impact the way that your systems are functioning and
Mhm.
going on to, let's say, to serve your customers. um, okay, there are multiple things that we can discuss in this. So you can even think about phases to achieve this. Phase one usually should be discover and control plane, um, identity inventories. I don't know, authentication, hardening, uh, endpoint posture assessment, logging normalization. I I don't know, privileged access cleanups, and of course identifying of critical assets, and of course the trust relationship within those critical assets. Phase two is access modernization. It's let's say conditional access. It's just-in-time privileges. It's segmentation on high-valued environments. Um, Stronger service-to-service authentication if you have service authentication. Um, Application level access that should actually replace the broad VPN context is there are a lot of measures that you should take in account. Uh, Maybe let's go to a even deeper uh, way of doing things. Where we should go. Let's name it phase three. Could be enforcement and automation. Again, microsegmentation, uh,
Network segmentation.
network segmentation, microsegmentation of the network, continuous verification, orchestrated
Yeah.
responses,
So
yeah, adaptive policies, workload identity. There are measures that this is actually moving towards the a very mature status of your security posture, and of course it's bringing you very close to that, let's say, virtual finish line. And probably we can name another a fourth phase, which is, let's say, optimization or optimizing your trust scoring, behavior analysis. And here I'm not referring only to users, I'm referring only also to your applications, um, policy tunnel tuning, attack path reduction, and so on and so forth. So basically, this is moving you very close to that finish line. But of course, as you said, things change. You'll probably start again, but
yeah,
the
again and again.
uh,
It's this
yeah,
is the journey within the cybersecurity.
yeah, but
I
the idea
will.
is that if you are, let's say, a little bit mature in your journey, you're not actually starting all over again. You're starting in those points that are actually changing. You don't have to do everything again. Basically, the key lesson here should be that large organizations do not or should not try to impose an ideal state zero trust. They should take it step by step and going as fast as possible and as fast as possible through those phases to move towards this finish line.
Identity is often described as a new parameter. How did you approach making identity a central enforcement layer in an environment with multiple stakeholders, agency, and trust boundaries?
Well, yeah, this is a tough one. The phase identity is the new perimeter is useful, but it's not actually it's actually incomplete, to be honest. Um,
Why?
well, in large organizations, identity is not just the new perimeter. Is the decision core of access.
I see.
To make identity central, the first step is to get serious about identity quality. So this means that your authoritative sources, your lifecycle management, role clarity, strong authentication, removal of stale accounts, all of this um sometimes are not at the same level, or the oversight on all these concepts are not, let's say, at the same maturity level. Um, uh, Many organizations want adaptive access before they actually solve their identity hygiene.
Hmm.
Well, it will give you very fragile identity and access management approach. Um, the second step should actually be into separating authentication from the authorization as clear as possible. Um, knowing who someone is doesn't actually automatically mean that they should receive broad access. Identity policies, not replace policies. And first step, to be honest, I think is federation, actually federating discipline. Large organizations often operate across departments. There is suppliers, external partners, so on and so forth. Have multiple people, multiple organizations, multiple partners that are coming in yard. Federation is a necessity. We can live without it, not quite, but usually it's a necessity. Trusting a federated system blindly, it's dangerous. You need to assure levels, claims validation, conditional access, and very clear rules of what an external identity can or cannot do. And probably in the same journey towards zero trust would be the non-human identities. Those are also critical. Service accounts, APIs, you know them, certificates,
Yeah.
keys.
And AI agents.
Yeah, are
Indeed.
often more.
Never forget AI
Yeah,
agents.
yeah, yeah,
Running
yeah.
all sorts of robots and
Our,
machinery.
our new friends. They're usually more numerous than the human part, and they're even more dangerous in most scenarios than the capabilities of a human actor. Okay, depends on the actor, but yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Uh,
here it is one of the things that still within the companies, these agents should be supervised by humans, at least for the time being.
Always should be.
100
four eye
always.
principle shouldn't go away.
Yeah,
Shouldn't go
Yeah,
exactly.
away. And
yeah,
the
for eyes.
second pair of eyes should be human. That's
Yeah.
not debatable. And probably, let's say, if you want to go even further into the rabbit hole of zero trust when it comes to identity, you should make your identities time bound and purpose bound.
Mhm.
But again, this is let's say doing it to the max, going to the extreme of what identity management should contain.
Um,
Uh,
Microsegmentation and east-west traffic controls sounds very straightforward in theory, but often hard in production. And what did you learn about segmentation at scale, and where the organization usually underestimate this difficulty?
well, most organizations actually underestimate them. Um, it's um, it's actually it's underestimating the dependency, the complexity of the dependencies, and the ownership of the operational. In theory, segmentation is simple. You define what should talk with what, then block the rest. It's
Yeah.
that simple. It should be that simple.
It looks like a firewall, you know?
Yeah. You create just one path. You know, it's one way street. You know the cars that are going on that one way street, and it's just one direction.
Yeah.
And you know the plates. Well, it's not that simple. In practice, most environments contain undocumented dependencies, legacy protocols, overlapping admin paths, temporary exceptions which tend to become permanent, and of course, shared infrastructure with other systems. Um, it's not
Or
best
people,
practices.
or should I mention especially people that require a lot of accesses, like developers, where
Yeah,
they want everything everywhere to be having access, and they only need it for one day or
yeah.
something like this. Yeah, so
A- and they will come back and present the solution and say it was working on my laptop. I'm kidding. I'm
this
kidding.
is why it's needed for a periodically review of
Yeah,
the security policies on a user basis and applications and
yeah,
so on. And yeah, the focus should be on checking if this is really needed or not.
At
What
least
is
once
what?
per year. This is what
Yeah.
they are saying and they are asking. Even the auditors, at least
yeah.
one.
Yeah, I would go even lower than 1 year, but it's just
Mhm.
I'm a little bit more paranoid than your average person.
But some other clients, for example, are saying okay twice per year. For example, financial institutions are saying twice or even more. It depends.
Yeah, basically the lesson in, let's say, micro segmentation, or the first thing that we should know is what actually communicate with what, and what are actually the dependencies for that particular discussion. When it comes to
And
uh,
also policies that you
yeah,
have in place when you started with this
yeah,
journey, and in time you have to refine them, and
yeah,
you have to check if they are really needed, if you have other things within the
yeah,
infrastructure that you need to remove. A lot of times companies are forgetting that we also have a process for decommissioning all
yeah,
stuff, which is can be a gateway for a lot of issues to enter in the company. And we need to secure all the
yeah.
parameters. Yeah.
Basically, for me, the main four topics in microsegmentations are again related with defining the path, the what should talk with what. Basically, then the understanding of the fact that actually microsegmentation is not technical most of the time. It's organizatorial. It seems it relies on the fact that somebody has to own that policy model. The third should be, I don't know, maybe related with the sensitivity and the function. Basically, we're not referring only to the IP ranges here, and should think about user to app or app to app, admin to management, and so on type of paths. Not actually, I have IPs to IPs or IP to class of IPs or VLAN to VLAN or something like that. So don't go large. And basically trying to have in mind that in all this mess, you have even more valuable path that you have to take care even more than your usual one. This is a thing that usually organizations underestimate. Trying to achieve a micro segmented environment. It's they usually stop at IPs to IPs. Okay, I have two IPs that are communicating between them, and that's zero. That's micro segmented. Well, it's actually not.
Yeah, and the services are any, so all the services are
Any
permitted
to any,
to see and any to any
any
source,
to any. Yeah,
any destination, any service.
yeah.
And that is
That's the
from
perfect.
lessons learned. From lessons learned. So my next question is: what are the most common implementation mistakes you see organization make with zero trust, especially when they try to move too quickly or treat it like a product deployment rather than an operating model?
Well, um, yeah, it's a difficult one. But I think the most common one is buying technology before, instead of actually designing and trying to govern the change. You go straight, okay, I need that technology, and start buying it. Um,
Understanding the business needs,
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
security requirements.
exactly. Close second is trying to deploy enforcement, by enforcing things before actually building the visibility needed for the concept of zero trust. If if you don't actually have visibility on the concept of zero trust, you go head first. If you don't know your identities, your dependencies, your device states, your flows, your policies, you cannot enforce something because it won't work. It will be purely implemented. And of course, one of the other most common things that I heard is zero trust is not control. It's giving up the control.
No.
What? No. Yes, seriously, it's not. It's actually building another model of control. It's going beyond the I have a password and a username and that's my control. No, it's building layer upon layer upon layer of trust measures that are providing you the security that you actually need to let's say sleep a little bit better during the night. No, it's I have a phrase that I like to use sometimes. Zero trust usually fails when it's considered a project. It shouldn't be a project. It should be an operating model. It should be the way you work. It's not okay. I have it. It's zero trust.
Yeah.
It's done. No, it's not. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it's a way of making business actually in a secure way.
Yeah. It's
It's securing the money actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
and again, you should move away from that governance mistake. Accepting or handling exceptions. If it's not the rule, well, there is not. It doesn't exist. It shouldn't happen if it's not following that rule. Because building exceptions
Yeah.
upon exceptions will create chaos, and chaos is not
That
good for
is
any
the
organization.
that is the challenge from the business owners or application owners that don't have too much of the security knowledge or understanding, and they want access for some of the colleagues within the company, and there you have it. You have like a breach
Yeah,
because suddenly someone has access to everything with that company, and from this total chaos can happen. That is a breach, that's an open viral flow for that person, and from this it can a lot of bad things can happen. And also we can have colleagues that maybe they are bad in like a threat actor or some sort of state-owned actors that try to access and do a data leakage or other bad things in within the infrastructure.
yeah.
I would
Please.
sorry. I would like to give the mic to Alex Mavro and speak about operations, resilience, and measurement.
Okay, thank you over there. Because we don't have too much time, we still have almost 15 minutes or even more over. I will address one or two questions over here, and then I'll pass to Alex Vlad the last topic. So a lot of security leaders worry that zero trust can slow the business down. How did you prioritize and sequence initiatives in ways that
Well,
support both resilience and operational continuity rather than creating disruption?
well, actually, the reason of this perception, from my point of view, is not about the fact that zero trust actually slows down things. It's a valid concern, on the other hand, but usually is related with the poorly implemented zero trust approaches. It will always, if it's poorly implemented and the journey is not very well documented and you don't actually know what you're striving for and what you're trying to do, um, it's it is going to slow you down. And the answer here it's rather simpler than you could expect is to try to prioritize or give priority to changes that actually reduce risk while improving the clarity and the control. Okay, it sounds very complex,
Yeah.
um, but it resumes to some principles. The first principle should be focus on the high risk, high value targets. Um, to look towards trust assumptions rather than to actually go towards low value users convenience. So basically don't look at the user, don't actually take account of that low value users. Look at the guys that actually can hurt you. The users or the systems that actually have a lot of access and a lot of power inside your organization. Look at those high risk and high value.
Yeah.
Those are the targets that you should focus on. Um, the second principle should be try to have adaptive controls if possible. So uh, basically, a non-user on a compliant managed device, which is accessing a low risk resource, should have smoother path than usual. Basically, it's again trying to think about the level that you want to impose based on the type of entry points, type of users, targets. Again, you have to know your environment before starting the journey. You have to understand what are your path, what are your users are trying to do in infrastructure, and most important, try to smoothen the path for those that you actually know and you are able to trust. Uh,
Okay. Anything else that you want to add, Robert?
yeah, here, it's I'm actually a fan of zero trust. It's uh, if zero trust is well done, it actually reduces the ambiguity. It should reduce the stress. It should reduce the frictions and the problems for the users and the systems that are trying to achieve the needed results or the needed resources inside your organization. It's actually, let's say, the other way around. It's not complicating life of anybody. It should make it easier and better.
Okay. How do you realistically measure zero trust progress and maturity in large scale environment? Oh,
Um, well, zero trust should be measured in at least five categories, at least from my point of view: identity and privilege, device trust, access pathways, and segmentation and blast radius, and also detection and response. So basically, these five things should be measurable to say that, okay, guys, I'm getting to the finale of the journey. I'm approaching the end of the journey. Uh, of course, each of them can have different KPIs, can have different measures, which have to be adapted, of course, to the organization that you're working within. But truly, it's composed of this. Um, it's one of the most. There is a question that sometimes I'm asking even myself. How many controls have we deployed? And if the answer, if one identity, one endpoint, one admin account, and one workload is compromised, how far can the attacker realistically move, and how fast can we stop it? This should be a question that we should ask. Because the question here is, if something happens, how fast we can stop it.
that's good.
That's the that's
Good
that's
question. Yeah.
that's the measure.
And here is the next question is looking ahead. So the landscape right now evolves with AI-driven threats, regulatory pressure, and future cryptographic changes. How is your thinking about zero trust evolving today?
Well, yeah. The second most important definition in IT these days, AI. I think it's the first after that is zero trust.
Trust no
um,
one, but
yeah,
always
yeah,
verify.
yeah, yeah. So the core principles, from my point of view, remain stable. But the prioritization are actually the priorities should be the ones that are evolving. AI-driven threats increase at scale, speed, and of course, at personalized attacks. It's custom-made attack. Um, that makes the identity assurance, behavior analysis, and rapid response even more important. So we're still in the zero trust area. Um, Again, it's besides this, it's actually also rising the bar for protective administrative workflows. If you don't have a very clear workflow, it's it's very difficult. Developer pipelines, again, here is another area that we have to be very careful on how we protect, and of course, the core high business, high value business priorities. Those have to be taken account, and of course, the threats are there. The threats are going towards those areas. Um, Cryptographic change. Well, if we're looking into the future, we really need to think about post-quantum cryptographic measures.
Yeah.
Of course, every zero trust journey is based heavily and it's depending heavily on a trustworthy cryptographic suite for identities, at least if you're not going even further with device trusts and of course workload authentication and secure communications. So everything actually fits together. The future. Okay, seems that it's actually complicating things, but we anyway have to take them in account due to the fact that if we don't do it, we will be caught unprepared, and our attack surface it will be larger than life itself.
The next question, for large enterprises or government organization watching this conversation, what is the single most important piece of advice you will give them if they want to move from zero trust as a buzzword to zero trust as an operational reality?
Well, start by identifying and removing your large implicit trust approach. Um, the idea is that, again, the trusting everything approach is not helping anybody. Again, it's the one that is going to be totally against any zero trust approach. Um, and another thing would be, do not begin with abstract models, maturity models alone. Don't look very far into the future. Um, Go more towards practical things. Again, coming back to the user, which users have the most access in my environment? Why do they have that access? Which systems are reachable too broadly? Um, which admin path would be catastrophic if abused? I don't know. Which critical environments still allow lateral movement without necessity? Why would I be able to jump from a database server to another database server or to another critical instance in my Active Directory and so on and so forth? So basically, it depends on the scenarios that you have, but lateral movement is a thing that you have to take in account. Um, these are meant actually to reduce that assumption phase, to make it let's say measurable. That's, let's say, the path from the buzzword, which is zero trust, to the reality. It's not buying a platform, you're not buying that platform or the other platform or the other software, not renaming your VPN, not actually declaring a strategy. Actually removing that inherent trust from places where it matters the most. It should be the starting point, the most important point of your zero trust journey. If I can put it in one phrase, I could say zero trust is becoming a reality when you're stop asking what tool to buy and start asking how you can make it safer without actually buying that tool.
Because we have less than 4 minutes, I will add the last question, for which I want from you to be short.
That's a little bit hard for me.
No, I know that zero trust. I mean, if we debate the zero trust, it's longer. I'm sure about that. We have a lot to speak in terms of that. But if I come to my question, what is the one thing you most want secure leaders to remember about implementing zero trust at scale? But in short, let's say, what the leaders should take away from here?
Don't trust anything.
Okay. So
there is no trust.
So they have to verify everything. What in terms of traffic, in terms of everything, yes. Even if it's a physical. Sorry, Alex.
No exceptions. No exceptions. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't trust anything, regardless of the name.
No exceptions. No risk card. No risk forms. Yeah. And always, so at some point in time, you have to yearly check these risk cards and risk forms and whatever, and you have to do the right thing. Do not permit obsolescence. Do not permit people to have more access than they really need for them to do their job. Yeah.
Don't trust. That's actually the it's zero trust, but it pins down to do not trust anything. Assume that everything can hurt your organization and even you. It's a thing that it's not only valid for very large organization. I think it's actually valid for even individual level. Do not trust anything that it's in the World Wide Web.
Yeah. Okay, now because we come to an end to this live event, Robert, where the people can find you, of course, and because you are a lecturer, you are practicing, you have some students, where the people can also find you in terms of finding your courses, let's say like that.
Well, I have a small course that I held on Skill Lab. Mm-hmm. It's mostly an introductory course for cybersecurity. Is meant for let's say it's composed of knowledge that everybody should have related with cybersecurity and what actually this cybersecurity thing means. And of course on LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can add me, you can follow me. We can chat over there if necessary.
Okay. In that case, I would like both of you, if you can stay for another 1 or 2 minutes until the end of the stream. And then, of course, we'll speak more about the links and all the other details. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.